presentation. Presently, under our existing ordinance, if I understand it correctly, one or two different individuals in a single residence can be involved in a home occupation or business?
You can have up to 2 home occupations at a business. Previously, we only allowed 1, but the task force that was enjoined in the mid-90s determined, as did council, that we increase that to 2 home occupations. So you can have 2 home occupations at one residence. It doesn't matter if it's 2 separate people having that or 1 individual that has 2 separate businesses.
Could 2 individuals each have 2 occupations, or just per residence?
Per residence, 2 is the limit.
And currently, in a residential area, if an occupant of a, let's say, a single-family resident wanted to have 25 guests or 50 guests visit the house during the day every 15 minutes, that's legal?
Not for business purposes.
No, guests. Personal guests.
A party or sure.
Yes,
sure.
And if a resident had 15 friends with mobile homes going to come visit today and maybe look at something they had personally for sale, a piece of furniture, they could go in and out of the driveway, and that would be perfectly legal.
If they could find the parking, it would be, yes.
I think, I read the various notes in the report, and we've discussed this before. I think that, well, let me ask this question. Are the present home occupations or businesses licensed as other businesses that are not home occupations? Do they have a city business permit to operate?
They both have, whether it be at a fixed commercial location or at a residence, they both have a city business tax registration as well as a city business permit to be at that fixed location.
So we have a inventory or index of which businesses are listed as home occupations as opposed to commercial, non-residential?
For the most part, we do. It's a little bit of a moving target. They kind of move in and out, but we do. At any particular time, we would have a number differentiating between the two.
And was any effort made to survey people who are presently involved or licensed in the city in terms of home occupations as to what might be beneficial to their businesses or harmful to their business with respect to the process of revisiting the ordinance?
Just all the normal notifications that we would be giving to the public with concerning meetings like this evening's meetings or the home occupation ordinance meeting itself.
Brown Act notifications, not necessarily notifications to the people.
To individuals, no.
Okay. And was it the view of the task force or group that you work with that somehow it would be harmful if there was an expansion and liberalization of the home occupation ordinance? I mean, that's what I'm getting. It's very, just change the... An expansion
in what direction?
To open it up, I'm trying to understand what's being restricted. What, I mean, you're not going to actually have metal operations or chemicals or stuff that may be harmful. I'm trying to understand how the ordinance is functioning. That is it restricting people who might want to have, or people coming in and saying we'd like to have a home occupation, and they're being told no, you can't do that because of our code?
Oh, of course, that happens when they come in and they say they want to be, you know, conducting welding at their residence or something that's outside of the parameters of what's allowed by the restrictions. Sure, that happens often.
Okay, and if somebody had a hobby of cabinet making in their garage, that would be okay?
If they were cabinet making in the garage as a hobby and it wasn't a commercial endeavor, they didn't have a fictitious name, they weren't advertising as such, sure, that would be fine.
And is advertising the criteria for whether or not there's a...
Only one of the criteria.
How do you determine if somebody is doing a home business? For example, is trading on a computer, day trading on a computer, is that something that would be considered okay as a home?
It depends on the nature in which they're doing that. If they're doing that on behalf of somebody else, it could be. If they're doing it on behalf of themselves, no, it's investment, portfolio investment, no.
Okay. And if people do have questions about the ordinance, would they contact your office? Or?
Yes.
Okay, and is there some sort of approval process that people go through to be okayed? How would one know, other than understanding legalese in the ordinance? Would they say, can I do this at my home, or they just start doing it? I mean, is there...
It happens both ways. Sometimes it's after the fact. Most of the time, home occupations don't create any disturbances to anybody, to the neighbors, office-generated, office-only types of things. And many times they come to us. Many times we find out they're there, through other organizations, state agencies, State Board of Equalization, State Franchise Tax Board. We have exchanged information through AB 63 with the State Franchise Tax Board. There's all different manners and way we would find out about them, or they would find out about us. Many times their accountants are the first ones to say, you really have a business, you really need to take advantage of having the tax breaks that you would get from using your residence as a home occupation. Why don't you go and formalize that with the community that you're in? So all different ways that we connect with each other.
Or businesses that have vehicles, such as plumbers, electricians, whatever, service vehicles, size of pickup trucks. It's only can allow one at the house, is that correct?
One per business at the house.
Oh, one per business?
Yes.
So if a plumber and electrician lived at the house, you could have a plumbing truck and a
You could.
electrician?
Yeah.
Okay, and how does your department enforce this ordinance? Is it on a complaint basis?
Well, the ordinance is in different segments. One is seeking out who's registered, those who aren't registered. When they do get registered, we go and we do an inspection of the residents. It's a very quick inspection to make sure that they're in compliance with all the regulations. We allow for a Q&A time with the person that owns the business to ask us a lot of questions about how they can proceed further. Can they put signs out and things like that? So there's the process is in different segments of finding the people, them finding us going and inspecting, us responding to complaints. That's a rather large aspect of the ordinance, is us responding to complaints.
And in terms of people visiting, do I understand correctly that a person has a legitimate business at their house that's licensed with the city, but they're unable to have clients come to the house?
Unable to have clients, which is extra pedestrian or vehicular traffic, and they're unable to have employees come. Of course, in today's technologically way of doing business, many of them that would have hamstrung them in the past, and now it doesn't, because they can communicate in all different fashions with their employees or their clients that they couldn't in the past, so that the need has lessened.
And how did your department determine if someone's violating the provision not to have clients come to the house?
That's by complaint. It's complaint driven, and then we'll go out and we'll make that determination, make an appointment with the people, come and talk to them about it. Very rarely, I shouldn't say very rarely, but rarely do we run across situations where we do find employees or clients coming where the people don't comply. They go, oh, okay. Or they might not be registered with us even need to know that they need to be registered. So it's usually pretty non-hostile. Occasionally we'll have some that could be. It usually has to do mostly with employees and less with clientele.
Does the city have a listing of what types of businesses are acceptable as home occupations? I know we have different lists of businesses in different zones, but do we have a list of businesses that are available? Or
any business that is office-oriented, almost any business that is office-oriented, that can work within the parameters, the 13 guidelines and also the 7 restrictions of the ordinance. Any business can take place as long as they fall within those guidelines and they're not illicit businesses.
Thank you.
So what's the difference between working at home and having a home occupation? Or is there a difference?
Working at home meaning if you were an employee and you took work home, that kind of working
No,
at home?
there's a lot of people that have internet business, so
Yeah.
there's cyber offices, they just work in their home. but they're
That
an
could be a
employee.
home occupation, could be one and the same, but many times we get the question asked, is, I'm taking work home and I'm doing work at home, am I conducting a home occupation? Certainly not as an employee. However, if you're an independent contractor and you're taking that work home, yeah, you're an independent contractor, you have a separate business, and you should be registered with us.
So the criteria is not if you have clients coming to the home? I
No.
mean, I know that would
No.
be a criteria, but that's not the mark. The
No,
cutoff point.
that's just one of the restrictions. You can't have clients coming and going.
Huh. Okay. Seems a little crazy to me, but all right. Other questions? Councilman Brick?
Yeah, Mr. Hirsch, I don't remember, but what's the setback on the surrounding motorhome and the driveway?
Well, Burbank's an older developed community in residential zones, but for the most, so it varies from location to location, but generally speaking, it's 25-foot front yard setback. Mm-hmm.
P&T days. Okay, thank you.
So if you work at home, are you supposed to get a license or pay fees or something?
Yeah, it's not a license, it's a business tax registration. And the business
If you're
tax...
an employee on a computer, you have to go do that?
No, not if you're an employee. If you're a owner of a business, yes, but not an
owner of
employee.
it.
Certainly not an employee.
Oh, okay.
Only $89 or something, right?
$87.50.
$87.
Even 87 even, yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments, motions? Could you all just sit here in silence? Councilman Golonsky?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move we direct staff to return with an amendment to the Home Occupation Ordinance amending VMC Title 10-1-672, paragraph J, such that the length of a commercial vehicle allowed to be on home occupation premises, including any attached trailer or apparatus, be no greater than 22.1 feet in length and 8 feet in height.
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion and a second. Mrs.
It
Campos?
actually says 22 feet, and I added .1 just to see if you guys were awake. I'll
We're not.
amend it to 22 feet.
I'm just going to vote no on it, too. All right, Mrs. Campos?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Gordon?
I'm going to say no, and the reason why is that I want to review this further. I want to see what comes back, and I want to discuss further the restrictions on people being able to come to a home business. Thank you.
Mr. Talamantes?
Yes.
And Mrs. Rankin?
Yes. All right, that motion passes 4-1. That brings us on to